Want to share with you guys an epiphany I had today at church. Okay. When I was sitting there in church, I couldn't even focus on the service taking place in front of me. I kept thinking about a million different thoughts, just what to do with my life, what am I doing, like how to do different things, other people. I'm sure all of you have been in such a situation where you know you need to focus on something or you want to focus on something, but there's just a million thoughts, just this, there's just there's a million thoughts going through your mind. And then I started thinking, what would it take? What would it take for me to be happy, to be mindful, to be engaged, to even listen to other people and care about what they're saying? What kind of personality change, character change, or even just my frame of mind, what kind of change would it take? So I started thinking of people who seem happy. And I'm sure you can all identify with this, or you've seen people like this. You can see it in their eyes, even in the glow in their faces. It's like their eyes just express this mirth, this joy, this joie de vivre, this joy for life. And when you talk to them, they're just so open, so welcoming. It's like they don't have that mental baggage dragging them down. They're just immersed in the moment. They're actually listening to you, right? So, and comparing this to the other kind of people, like I'm sure you've all seen people where you can see the sorrow in their eyes, as if their eyes are just screaming for help. They're usually these downturned, mewling, sunken eyes, like almost blacked out eyes, like that, almost as if they're retreating from a world too bright. Like they just couldn't handle it. Um, so, what kind of change would it take to be that happy person? And then it struck me. It was an epiphany. And just a side thing about epiphanies, I realized, at least this is my opinion, I think epiphanies take place when you have distorted thinking, thinking that clashes, is disharmonious. Because for regular people who are not neurotic, whose thoughts just flow from one into the other, their thoughts bleed into each other, there's no apparent contradiction, no clashing realities. It seems you don't need an epiphany, right? It's like you seamlessly move you flow from one thought to another. But in my mind, where everything's clashing, every time I settle on a thought, something else falls off the plate. It's always this jarring, this clashing reality. When I do get these epiphanies, it's like everything clicks, everything just makes sense. Everything is like almost infused with this warm glow. And I've noticed these epiphanies usually happen. They coincide with some event in nature. Like today was a very sunny day. It can be a thunderstorm, a lightning bolt, or this can be pouring like pissing rain. And it's usually times like these when I get the epiphanies. There seems to be a connection that when there's an event in nature that's particularly overwhelming, that it triggers maybe some emotional content within me. I don't know what it is. But anyways, today I got this epiphany. And it was that everyone is just so beautiful. Like I'm sitting there in church, I'm looking at everybody else. And for once, I'm not thinking this person is sexy to me, or this person looks good. I'm not evaluating people or gauging their value based on how they look to me. I'm taking the people who I would normally just pass over with my gaze. I'm taking people who I might even ordinarily think they are ugly. And I'm thinking, holy shit, these people are beautiful. Like there's a miracle of life taking place right here, right in front of me. There's a person who's listening to this service just like I am. There's emotions going through their head. They're also making decisions about how to live their life. I mean, and they're just experiencing life. Like what a miracle that is, right? Like imagine if you were alone. Imagine if I was alone and there was no one to talk to, no one to share life with. That would be a really shitty reality, right? Like I'm so grateful that there's someone else here, anywhere, that is experiencing this reality, and hopefully someone will be around to experience this reality even after I'm gone. And this took a load off my shoulders, because now all of my decisions, all of my weighty decisions that usually just drag me down, they don't matter as much anymore. Like, does it really matter what my career choice will be? And I mean, of course, on the one hand, it doesn't matter. But it's like, it's not such a do or die moment anymore, because I have faith in other people, right? I have faith that someone will carry on this torch. Someone will be there to experience life just like I'm experiencing right now. And this allows me to savor life, to be mindful, to be open to things, to be open to experiences, to enjoy the service, to listen to other people and appreciate what they're saying. And this epiphany just took me into a place where I let myself go with it. I did this thought experiment. I started thinking of everyone in the church, and I just started saying to myself, you know what? I love you. Not me. I mean, it's like in my mind I was talking to them. I love you. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful that you're here, right? And this just brought a smile to my face. For the rest of the service, it's like my disjointed thoughts just left me, and I was there in the moment, appreciating the service, appreciating the moment, the music, the people singing together. It was just such a beautiful moment. And I encourage all of you, because I think our everyday life is designed to be very superficial, right? When you're commuting, when you're looking at other people, you're always making these judgments based on how people look, on what utility they provide to you. But you fail to appreciate that there's a meta level of life here where every person is a miracle experiencing life. That this idea, I want you guys to understand this, okay? The fact that someone is experiencing life is a miracle, okay? Like, what if there was no one? And this is where this video transitions from becoming just a self-affirmation, from a statement of my opinions to almost a social critique. Because I think the way media is designed, the way our ideas are, it only lets us appreciate the very superficial level of life. I'm always thinking, like how sexy this girl is. I love her legs. I love what she's wearing. I'm always just looking at attractive people. And I don't even know if this attraction is something that bubbles up from within me, or has it been conditioned, Like, what I find attractive in other people, maybe it's just all the advertising I've seen, the ideas I've been around since birth. I don't know. What do I really appreciate, right? So I encourage you guys to do this thought experiment. Maybe even take the ugliest person you can find, people you would not normally pay attention to, and just let yourself realize that there's a miracle of life taking place right there in that person, right? And yeah, this let me be very happy, savor the moment, because all of a sudden it's like my life, I can enjoy it because it doesn't have to necessarily amount to anything. I don't have to be this perfect person because I have faith in other people, in their journey. So let me move from this into some other points, some related tangents here. This idea of not interfering with people, letting them live out their journey of life. So one thing I've experienced in my own life is that when you're recovering, let's say it's from an addiction, maybe it's from some character defects, the first step in your recovery is usually this messiah complex where you think, I'm going to change the world, right? It's like, I've stumbled on this amazing new paradigm, and I want to just change the world, make everyone think the way I do. But you have to kind of move on from this first step, because if you do that, you end up fucking up the people you're trying to help, right? And this I got from Stephen Covey's book, 7 Effective Habits of Successful People or something. His idea was put good principles at the center of your life. Because let's say you put your spouse at the center of your life. You'll get jealous and you'll fuck up the relationship, right? Or you put children at the center of your life. By trying to vicariously live through them and shape them to be good individuals, you might just be an overbearing parent and fuck them up, right? Like overwhelming expectations. They might try to be perfectionists. That's the way I was raised, and it's taken me a long time to move on from this. Anything you put at the center of your life, you risk fucking it up. That's where I think the utility is of putting almost like a plug-in, almost like a mental hack, like putting God at the center of your life, because God is almost this God of the gaps. It's nothing that you're actually going to fuck up, right? Anything else you put, let's say you put money. If you put money at the center of your life, you'll become a greedy, egotistical, self-aggrandizing individual. So you need something to plug that hole, right? So anyways, I'm saying have faith in people. Don't try and change them, and use your own platform to contribute to the world, okay? So I know I'm jumping around a lot here. This is more of a brain dump. Someday I will take the time to refine my ideas and write it down properly, okay? But I was at this philosophy talk, and this philosopher, I didn't necessarily agree with everything he was saying, and I was so tempted. And I actually, after the talk, I went up to him and I started asking these tough questions, trying to disprove him. And then it occurred to me, like, shit, I was noticing the authenticity of the individual, this philosopher, his genuine approach. He's genuinely trying to better the world here. He's expressing something he believes in. And I thought, you know what? Rather than tearing down the ideas, why not just let him make his contribution here, right? Let people decide for themselves whether they want to listen to him or not. This is his platform, his chance to shine, and I appreciate this. I'm going to go home and I'm going to share on my own platform. And if my ideas hold any water, people will listen to them or they won't. Whatever, right? So yeah, just appreciate people, appreciate their journey through life. Just use your own platform to contribute. Okay, I'm going to relate this to something else. So I kind of encountered the first principle of life, at least for myself, is to appreciate the miracle of life in everyone, and this allows me to savor life, as well as gives me the incentive to try and help other people to make their experience of living easier and better, right? The other part of this, I think, is honesty. Okay, so this is almost like a whole other topic, so bear with me, guys, here. I've been reading on various kind of mythologies or narratives that help you to live life. So I was reading The Alchemist, and he said, every religion tells you that the world you're living in was made by someone who had your interests at heart. This is God. It's a God figure, of course, right? And this gives you immense power, immense joy in your life, kind of this validation that I'm doing the right thing. I'm living in a world that is good, right? This is the essence of Judaism. It's like God is good. God created the world. Therefore, the world is good, right? And I think that is at the base level of every religion. That's the fundamental tenet, is that life is good. The world is good. And actually, this is not even universal, because Buddhists think that life is suffering. And actually, this actually helps my actual point, is that everyone needs these narratives or these mythologies to base their life on. Whether it's life is suffering, life is good, you build up from that, and you base your whole superstructure of life on that base narrative, right? Now, what I wanted to do, and what I still want to do, is move away from a narrative that is religious or makes me accept metaphysical truths that science has disproven. I want a secular narrative. What kind of narrative can help us live today in a secular age where you don't have to accept this God figure or whatever, right? And I'm thinking it's honesty, right? Like, let's say I was 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and I was an explorer, and I was thinking I want to go and look for new opportunities for my family or whatever. I want to travel abroad. What would let me conquer this fear that I'm going to die on this journey? Most likely. And I think it's honesty. And let me unpackage what honesty means to me. Honesty is being able to tell the people that are close to you that I love you, that I appreciate you. Because once you've got that message out of the way, then you're not afraid of death anymore. You're not afraid of things because you've shared your message, you've shared your truth. Now it's okay to go and die for a cause, right? Honesty is also in your actions. It's not just in your words. Even if, like, let's say up until that point, you've labored hard, you've done a good job, you're pleased with how you've used opportunities thus far. Now you can take gambles, you can take risks, you can engage in endeavors that maybe only have like a 10% chance of success with huge reward at the end of the tunnel because you've got the essentials out of the way. Okay, so I've laid out for you two tenets of life that I've come to that are fundamental to my living. One is appreciate people are beautiful, right? Love other people, and I've given you the justification why. The second is honesty. Now, about honesty, I've been thinking honesty requires power, okay? And this is, a lot of people might have a problem with this, but I generally think that to be a good person, you need power. What do I mean by this? So sociology has a different definition of power. Psychology has a different definition of power. I'm using the one that I read in one of Rollo May's books. It was called Power and Innocence. I think power at a base level is also just self-affirmation, right? Being able to accept yourself, live life the way you want to, and it's also not being a leech on other people, right? Let's say you are in a place in your life where you have to be overly dependent on other people. You almost feel guilty about expressing your truth. You can't even say I love you or I appreciate you because that could be seen in some twisted way as if you're being a sycophant. You're trying to get favors from them, you're trying to get money from them, so you're sucking up to them. You're their bitch, basically, right? But when you have a certain amount of power, that kind of self-sufficiency, where you're a dignified individual and you have self-respect, then it's okay to express these truths and be honest in the way you live as well as in your words. And this honesty lets you take risks and live fearlessly. I think that is the secular narrative of today's age. This is the narrative we need, and it can replace this old hearkening to an idea of God or whatever, right? So I think honesty is very important. Power is very important. Not the kind of power where it's power over other people necessarily, but at least enough self-sufficiency, dignity, self-respect, and that self-sufficiency part. Like maybe it's having a job or something where you don't feel like being honest is just being a suck-up, being a bitch, being a sycophant, you know? I think I'm going to, just last thing and then I'll end the video, is the importance of rituals. Once you've settled on a way of life that matters to you, once you've hit upon these epiphanies, then there's the long work, this hard task of making this a reality for yourself day to day, okay? And I think this is where a lot of people fail. This is where I fail. It's like, I'll read this self-help book, and like within a month I've forgotten the message, right? And I think that revivification that has to occur on a daily or weekly basis is super, super important, and it's done through rituals. This ritual can be going to church every Sunday, once a week. It can be maybe a reminder for yourself while you're brushing your teeth. Maybe you're in the shower. And the shower is, taking a shower is actually a really good place to have these thoughts, because I'm getting totally sidetracked here. But you have different brain states. And apparently when you're taking a shower, it triggers, I believe it's a theta state, where your subconscious is particularly active. You're in just a very creative frame of mind. Use one of these times, maybe even at church. I believe church also elicits this kind of mental state. Use these rituals to remind yourself of the higher form of living, a more soulful way of living, right? Because it's too easy to get bogged down by the superficiality of everyday life, especially the way we're bombarded by media, by other people, by the prevailing ideas, the prevailing ideas in our society about what constitutes beauty, what constitutes meaning, that sometimes you just have to break yourself out of this matrix and entertain the higher reality. Like, what really matters? Where is the real value of this person I'm with? Is it really in their appearance? Is it really in the utility they are providing to me? Or is there something deeper, right? In the experience of life itself, in the fact that I just cannot fucking live on my own. Like, it would be a disaster if I had to live life on my own. I'm so appreciative of other people that I can genuinely think in my mind when I look at another person, I love you. I don't give a fuck if you're an oppressor, you're torturing me. This is my thought experiment. I love you, because even when I'm dead, you'll be there to experience this life, right? If I was the last person and I died, that would be the true tragedy. So, okay, I'm going to wrap up the video here. Do this thought experiment, guys. Thank you. Till next time.